She had 24 hours to make an impossible choice: save herself or save her son's dreams. What she did next will break your heart and restore your faith in a mother's love. Sofia Santos woke up at 4:30 a.m., just like she had every morning for the past 8 years. The small Chicago apartment was still dark as she quietly prepared for another grueling day. In the bedroom next to hers, her 16-year-old son Miguel was sleeping peacefully, surrounded by acceptance letters from Harvard, MIT, and Stanford. Harvard had offered him a full academic scholarship, something Sofia had once thought impossible for a boy who had arrived in America at age 8, speaking no English and carrying nothing but the clothes on his back. Sofia touched the red bandage on her inner arm, where she'd donated plasma the day before. Twice a week, every week, for 8 years. The extra $100 each month helped cover Miguel's SAT prep books, college application fees, and the small expenses that even a full scholarship couldn't cover. "Mijo, wake up," Sofia whispered, gently shaking Miguel's shoulder. "You have that college interview today." Miguel stirred and smiled at his mother. At 16, he was already taller than Sofia, with kind eyes that reflected her own determination. "Mama, you look tired. Are you eating enough?" Sofia forced a smile. What Miguel didn't know was that she'd been living on one meal a day for years, sending every extra dollar toward his future. The rice and beans she ate for dinner was often her only food until the next evening. "I'm fine, mijo. Today is about you and your bright future." As Miguel got ready for school, Sofia prepared his lunch with the same care she put into everything involving her son's education: fresh fruit, a proper sandwich, milk money, things that required sacrifice, but that she provided without hesitation. Miguel was valedictorian of his high school class, student body president, and a volunteer tutor for younger students. He dreamed of becoming a doctor and returning to help their community. Sofia had made sure nothing would stand in the way of those dreams. "Mama, the guidance counselor says I need to register for classes soon," Miguel said over breakfast. "Harvard sent all the paperwork." Sofia nodded, hiding her anxiety. She'd been undocumented for 12 years, ever since she'd fled Guatemala. As Miguel left for school, Sofia prepared for her shift at the Grand Plaza Hotel, where she'd worked as a housekeeper for 6 years. The job paid $9 an hour cash, no benefits, no security, but it allowed her to remain invisible while building Miguel's future. At the hotel, Sofia moved through her routine with efficient precision. 20 rooms per shift, each one clean to perfection, despite the physical toll on her increasingly frail body. A supervisor, Maria, knew Sofia was undocumented, but protected her because of her work ethic and reliability. "Sofia, you're the best worker we have," Maria often said. "I wish I could do more for you." What Maria didn't fully understand was the careful calculation behind every dollar Sofia earned. After rent, utilities, and Miguel's school supplies, Sofia had exactly $73 left each month. Every penny went toward college preparation, test prep materials, application fees, and a small savings account for Miguel's dorm supplies. During her lunch break, Sofia walked to the Plasma Donation Center, where she'd been a regular for 8 years. The process took 2 hours and left her weak, but the $50 payment twice a week was crucial income. "Mrs. Santos, you're here again," said Nurse Jennifer, who'd grown concerned about Sofia's increasingly gaunt appearance. "Are you sure you're eating enough protein? Your levels are getting low." "I'm fine," Sofia replied automatically. She couldn't explain that the protein she saved on herself bought Miguel the nutrition he needed to excel in athletics and academics. The other donors were mostly college students earning extra money. Sofia was often the oldest person there, sacrificing her body's strength for her son's opportunities. That evening, Sofia attended a community meeting at their local church, where other undocumented parents shared information about keeping their children safe while pursuing education. The fear was constant. One wrong move, one document check, one raid could destroy years of careful planning. "My daughter just got into Northwestern," whispered Carmen, another mother. "But I'm terrified to let her enroll. What if they discover our status?" Sofia understood this fear intimately. Every opportunity for Miguel came with the risk of exposure. Yet, she'd decided long ago that his education was worth any personal risk. Late at night, after Miguel finished his homework and went to sleep, Sofia sat at their small kitchen table with a worn notebook and pen. For 4 years she'd been writing letters to Miguel, not for him to read now, but for after she was gone. "My beautiful son," she wrote by the light of their single lamp, trying to save on electricity costs. "If you are reading this, it means Mama had to leave you before seeing you become the doctor you were meant to be." The letters contained everything she wanted Miguel to know about their family history, their journey to America, and the depths of her love for him. She wrote about his father, who had died protecting their village. She wrote about the hopes she carried when they crossed the border with nothing but faith. "I know you think Mama works too much and doesn't take care of herself," she continued writing. "But every hour I work, every meal I skip, every comfort I give up, it's all so you can have the life I never could. You are my masterpiece, mijo. You are worth every sacrifice." Sofia had filled dozens of notebooks over the years, letters for Miguel's high school graduation, his college graduation, his medical school acceptance, his wedding day, the birth of his children. She wrote about the proud moments she might miss and the wisdom she wanted to pass down. The letters also contained practical information: the location of their small savings account, contact information for relatives in Guatemala, and instructions for navigating life in America as an undocumented person. Sofia hid the journals in a shoebox under her bed, along with copies of Miguel's important documents and what little money she'd been able to save. She'd taught Miguel where to find them in case of emergency, though he didn't understand why his mother was always preparing for the worst. The letters were her way of ensuring that even if she was taken away, Miguel would know how deeply he was loved and how carefully she'd planned for his success. As Sofia finally prepared for bed, she looked in on Miguel one last time. At 16, he was no longer the frightened 8-year-old who had clung to her hand as they crossed into America. He was confident, brilliant, and ready to change the world. What Sofia didn't know was that tomorrow would bring the choice she'd spent 8 years preparing for, and that all her secret planning was about to be put to the ultimate test. The immigration raid that would change everything was less than 12 hours away. Sofia's phone rang at 5:47 a.m., earlier than her usual alarm. It was Maria from the hotel, her voice tense and frightened. "Sofia, don't come to work today. Immigration officers are checking all the hotels downtown. Someone said they have a list of names." Sofia's blood went cold. For 12 years, she'd lived with this fear, but hearing it become reality felt like a physical blow. Miguel was still sleeping, unaware that their carefully constructed life was about to collapse. "Are you sure?" Sofia whispered into the phone. "Yes. They arrested 3 housekeepers at the Marriott an hour ago. You need to disappear until this passes." But Sofia knew this wasn't something that would pass. Immigration enforcement had intensified. She woke Miguel gently, trying to hide her panic.
Mijo, we need to talk.
Miguel immediately sensed something was wrong. His mother's face was pale, and her hands were shaking.
Mama, what happened? There are immigration officers looking for people like us. We may need to leave Chicago today.
The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Miguel's Harvard acceptance letter was pinned to their refrigerator, a symbol of everything they'd worked toward. Registration was supposed to be next week.
What about Harvard?
Miguel asked, his voice breaking.
What about everything we planned?
Sofia's heart shattered as she watched her son's dreams crumble before her eyes. For 8 years, every sacrifice had been building toward this moment. Miguel's chance to break the cycle of poverty and fear that had defined their lives.
I don't know, Mijo. I need to think.
Miguel grabbed his mother's hands.
Mama, maybe we can hide. Maybe we can find a way to stay until I graduate.
But Sofia knew better. Immigration enforcement was relentless, and their small apartment offered no real sanctuary. They had perhaps hours before their identities were discovered. While Miguel was at school for what might be his last day, Sofia frantically researched their options on the library computer. The choices were stark and devastating. Option 1. Flee immediately to Canada where they could apply for asylum. Miguel would be safe, but he'd lose his Harvard scholarship and have to start over in a new country. Option 2. Sofia could surrender herself to immigration authorities while Miguel stayed with a foster family. He could keep his Harvard spot, but Sofia would be deported and banned from returning. Option 3. They could go underground completely, but Miguel would have to abandon his education and live in constant fear. Sofia called every immigration lawyer she could find, but the consultations all led to the same conclusion. With current enforcement priorities, Sofia would likely be deported quickly. Miguel, as a minor who had arrived young, might qualify for protection, but only if he wasn't hiding with his mother. "The harsh reality," explained attorney Rebecca Martinez, "is that sometimes families have to separate for the children to have any chance at a normal life." Sofia felt like she was drowning. Every option meant losing either her son or his future. How could she choose between her own safety and Miguel's dreams? At the Plasma Donation Center, Sofia sat in the waiting room one last time, staring at the other donors, young college students worried about test scores and social events. She thought about Miguel, who should be worried about the same things but instead faced the prospect of becoming a refugee again. Jennifer, the nurse, noticed Sofia's distress. "Are you okay, Mrs. Santos? You look like you've been crying." "My son got into Harvard," Sofia said quietly. "That's wonderful. You must be so proud." Sofia smiled through her tears. "Yes, he's going to be a doctor." What she didn't say was that she might never see him graduate. The decision she'd avoided all morning was becoming clear, though it would cost her everything. When Miguel came home from school, he found his mother sitting at the kitchen table with their important documents spread out before her. Her face was calm, but her eyes were red from crying. "Mama, what are you doing?" "Mijo, sit down. I need to tell you something important." Sofia had spent the day arranging Miguel's future without her. She'd contacted the foster family that the church had recommended, the Johnsons, a kind couple who specialized in helping undocumented youth navigate the education system. "You're going to stay with the Johnson family until you turn 18 and finish high school. Then you'll go to Harvard just like we planned." Miguel stared at his mother in shock. "What about you?" "I'm going to visit Grandma in Guatemala for a while." The lie was necessary. Sofia couldn't tell her 16-year-old son that she was planning to surrender herself to immigration authorities the next morning. She couldn't explain that voluntary departure might allow her to apply for legal return someday, though the chances were slim. "Mama, no. We stay together. We've always stayed together." Sofia pulled Miguel into her arms, memorizing the feeling of holding her son. "Listen to me, mijo. You are so close to your dreams. Harvard is waiting for you. You're going to become a doctor and help people and make our family proud." "I don't want Harvard without you," Miguel cried. "You're all I have." "And you are all I have," Sofia whispered. "That's why I need you to be safe and successful. That's why I need you to live the life we came here to find." Sofia showed Miguel the hiding place, where she'd kept their important documents and her journals. "Everything you need is here. The Johnsons will help you with college registration. And mijo, read the letters I wrote you. They'll help you understand." That night, Sofia cooked Miguel's favorite meal, the first full meal she'd prepared in months. They ate together quietly, both knowing it might be their last dinner as a family. "Mama, there has to be another way," Miguel pleaded one final time. Sofia touched her son's face gently. "Sometimes love means letting go, mijo. I'm not losing you. I'm setting you free." The next morning, Sofia would walk into the Sofia woke up at dawn before Miguel stirred. She dressed carefully, wanting to look dignified when she surrendered herself to immigration authorities. In her purse, she carried copies of Miguel's college acceptance letters and a letter explaining her voluntary departure. She kissed Miguel's forehead while he slept, whispering, "Mama loves you more than life itself, mijo. Make me proud." The Johnson family arrived at 7 a.m. as planned. Mrs. Johnson, a former teacher who had helped dozens of immigrant youth, held Sofia's hands gently. "We'll take care of him like he's our own son, and we'll make sure he gets to Harvard." Sofia nodded, unable to speak through her tears. When Miguel woke up, his mother was gone. On the kitchen table, he found a final letter. "My beautiful boy, by the time you read this, Mama will be on her way to visit Grandma. The Johnsons are your family now until you're ready to be on your own. I know you're angry, but someday you'll understand that this was the only way to protect your dreams. Register for Harvard. Become the doctor you were meant to be. I will be watching from far away, so proud of the man you're becoming." Miguel ran to the window, hoping to catch a glimpse of his mother, but she was already gone. The boy who had crossed a border holding his mother's hand was now truly alone in America. The next 2 years were the hardest of Miguel's life. He lived with the Johnson family, who treated him with kindness, but the grief of losing his mother consumed him. He started Harvard as planned, but struggled with depression and survivor's guilt. "I should have protected her," he told his counselor. "She sacrificed everything for me, and I let her get deported." Sofia, meanwhile, was living in a small village in Guatemala, working in a medical clinic for practically nothing. She'd been banned from returning to the United States for 10 years. Every day, she wondered if sacrificing her freedom had been worth it. Miguel threw himself into his studies with desperate intensity. He majored in pre-med with a focus on international health, driven by the dream of someday working in Central America, where he might see his mother again. He read Sofia's journals obsessively, finding strength in her words during his darkest moments. One entry particularly sustained him. If you're reading this during a difficult time, remember that Mama's love is with you always. Every challenge you overcome makes our sacrifice meaningful. Sofia learned English better during her forced separation, taking online classes and dreaming of the day she might legally return. She followed Miguel's progress through carefully arranged phone calls and letters, celebrating his academic achievements from thousands of miles away. My son is on the dean's list. During his third year at Harvard Medical School, Miguel organized a medical mission trip to Guatemala. Officially, it was about gaining international health experience. Privately, it was his chance to see his mother for the first time in 4 years. The reunion was emotional beyond words. Sofia had aged noticeably, the stress and poverty taking their toll. But when she saw Miguel in his medical school scrubs, her face lit up with pure joy. "Mijo, you did it. You're really going to be a doctor." Miguel held his mother and wept. "I did it because of you, Mama. Because you believed in me when no one else did." During the 2-week mission, Miguel worked alongside his mother at the clinic where she'd been volunteering. He saw how respected she was in the community, how her natural compassion made her a gifted caregiver, despite her lack of formal medical training. "Mama, you should have been a doctor too," Miguel told her. "No, mijo. My job was to make sure you could be one, and look, I succeeded." Miguel realized that his mother hadn't just sacrificed her presence in his life. She'd found a new purpose, serving others in Guatemala. Her forced deportation had led her to work she loved, even if it meant losing everything she'd built in America. 4 years after Sofia's deportation, Miguel graduated from Harvard Medical School as valedictorian. He'd been accepted into a pediatric residency program and planned to specialize in treating immigrant children. The Johnson family attended his graduation, as did teachers and friends who had supported him through the difficult years. But the seat that mattered most was filled virtually. Sofia watched the ceremony via video call from Guatemala, tears streaming down her face. When Miguel walked across the stage to receive his diploma, he paused and looked directly into the camera. "This is for my mother, Sofia Santos, who gave up everything so I could have anything." In his valedictorian speech, Miguel spoke about invisible sacrifices and the immigrants who build America's dreams at the cost of their own comfort. "My mother cleaned hotel rooms for years, donating blood twice a week to pay for my education. She chose deportation over staying safe because she knew my future was more important than her present." The audience was moved to tears, many standing in ovation. Sofia, watching from thousands of miles away, felt that every sacrifice had been worthwhile. After graduation, Miguel established a scholarship fund for undocumented students, naming it the Sofia Santos Foundation. For mothers who give everything so their children can achieve anything. Miguel is now working toward immigration reform that would allow families like his to stay together while pursuing education. He visits his mother in Guatemala every year, and she remains. "Mama taught me that love isn't about being present," Miguel said in a recent interview. "Sometimes love is about being absent, so the people you care about can be everything they're meant to be." Sofia Santos sacrificed her American dream so her son could live his own. In doing so, she proved that a mother's love knows no borders, no limits, and no conditions. Only the endless possibility of hope. Sometimes the greatest act of love requires the greatest sacrifice. Sofia Santos chose her son's future over her own freedom, proving that a mother's love can transcend any border, any separation, any obstacle. Her sacrifice reminds us that the American dream isn't just about opportunity. It's about the people who give up everything to make those opportunities possible for others.